Sometimes the obstacle in your training program isn't the weight on the bar. It's what happens when you feel the weight on the bar. The impulse that rushes in. A surge of pride says, "They're watching, lift heavier." Or a spike of fear says, "My shoulder doesn't feel right. Too late now. They're watching." And most of the time, we treat that impulse like it is the emotion. That mix-up is where mistakes are made and prices are paid. Hey there, it's me, Core, and you're listening to Exercising Self-Control from Fitness to Flourishing. Here's the distinction that clears this up. Emotion is a biological signal. It's information. Being ruled by emotion is a habit, and habits can be retrained. That's why just push the feeling away is bad advice. Suppression doesn't build control. It reduces awareness. It blurs your ability to choose, and it leaves you more vulnerable when the next impulse shows up. What you're aiming for instead is emotional governance. The trained ability to notice what you feel, name it clearly, pause to shift back to rational thinking, and choose a response that matches your values and principles. The rule isn't don't feel. The rule is feel everything, but act consistent with your principles. This idea lines up with Lisa Feldman Barrett's research on constructed emotion. Her work suggests that emotions aren't dispatched from some central emotion command center. They're constructed by the brain based on your internal body signals and what's happening around you. Once you understand that, emotions stop being enemies. They become useful data. Signals you can work with instead of storms you have to fight. To make this practical, use a 4-step trained response to emotion. It's simple, but it's powerful when you do it consistently. Name, notice, pause, choose. First, name it. Identify the exact feeling and label it. Not just, "I feel bad," but "I feel frustration," or "I feel fear of judgment," or "I feel shame." Naming creates distance. It turns a raw, blurry experience into a clear signal you can handle. You can even use psychological distancing techniques to separate yourself from the emotion further. For example, the phrase, "that felt like," for example, shame. Or even using your own name as if describing a third person creates experiential distance. For example, in that case, I might say, "Corey was feeling shame a moment ago." Second, notice. Look for the behavioral urge that follows the feeling. The emotion is the signal. The urge is the push toward a specific action. For example, skip the workout. Go heavier to prove something. Reach for the junk food. Separating signal from urge reveals what's really driving you. Third, pause. Insert a small gap between the urge and the action. 1 slow breath. A quiet count from 1 to 5. This is where you give yourself a chance to reassert rational thinking. The pause doesn't erase the emotion. It gives you space to act deliberately instead of impulsively. And fourth, choose. Pick the response that serves your long-term goals and matches your principles. Maybe that means doing a shorter run instead of skipping the workout entirely. Doing a light circuit instead of forcing a personal record. Keeping the plan instead of feeding the impulse. You're not trying to win against emotion. You're trying to act with alignment. Here's what this looks like in real life. The peer pressure snack. You're out with friends and everyone orders pizza. You feel that knot of anxiety, the sense that you'll be judged if you don't join in. First, you name it. I'm anxious about being judged, or that felt like anxiety just then. Second, you notice the urge. Binge on pizza to avoid judgment. Third, you pause. One slow breath, count from 1 to 5. And fourth, you choose. Order a salad, or have one slice. Eat it mindfully and move on without turning it into a big deal. The same protocol works for ego lifting, stressful work messages, or any moment where emotion tries to drag you off your chosen path. The target is governance, not suppression. Here's another way to picture this. Emotions are weather and principles are climate. Storms can happen when least expected, but you can build a climate that provides predictable trends of weather patterns. Governance is how you build that climate, by repeatedly choosing your principles over your impulses. With repetition, emotions become information, clues about what matters to you, not commands you must obey. Affective science describes emotions as constructed from your brain's appraisal of bodily sensations and context. And it matches a Stoic idea I keep coming back to. External events are neutral. What matters is how you use the faculty of choice. This is what the Stoics call proeresis, and what I call the choosing self. There's also a practical brain side benefit here. When you name what you feel and pause before acting, you engage the prefrontal cortex, the part that supports planning, control, and values-based decisions. That can help dial down the amygdala-driven impulse and steer your behavior toward what you actually want long term. So here's the recap. Emotion is not the enemy. Feelings are data. Impulses are habits. Governance is the goal, not suppression. The 4-step protocol is your tool to train your emotional climate. Name the emotion, notice the urge, pause with a deliberate breath or a brief count, and choose the response consistent with your values and principles. Apply it when emotional events occur. With practice, you'll get better at staying consistent, even when you don't feel like it. Remember the rule. Feel everything, but act consistent with your principles. If you are listening to this and you're ready to become the kind of person who follows through, I built a community for exactly that. Your aim is simple. Don't break your daily standard. If you're ready to start your day one, join the Act Score Challenge. That's it for today. Catch you next time.